Good morning, TrotCon. Welcome to my 11th and final panel of TrotCon Online, Snow Day 2020. Welcome to Keeping Friendship Magic, The Midnight in Me. This is a brand new Keeping Friendship Magic panel. This one is one I've been kind of tinkering with for months. Usually every year there's a brand new Keeping Friendship Magic panel for cons, and it took me a while to do it this year. I've been busy doing a lot of kind of other things, involved things, I guess you could say. This is an idea I've had for a little while, and I decided finally, you know what, let's bust it out before the year is over. So if you're not familiar with Keeping Friendship Magic, what we do here is combine the ponies we all know and love in various pop culture and fandom items and fuse it with the lessons from the show with real world social science to bring those lessons into our real world and help us grow better and stronger. Because I have a belief here, and this is just mine, and I like to start out the panels with this, is that my belief is that bronies have the power to change the world. And it might sound silly, but I really do still believe this after all this time. There is so much positivity that is emanated from this fandom. And I felt it, and I know many of you out there have felt it as well. And if only we could keep what I call bronyism going, the tenets of this fandom of love and tolerance and acceptance and just so many beautiful things. There's so much we can do. But in order to do that, we have to take some lessons and we have to grow. So I'm poor at introductions, apparently. So if I didn't mention earlier, my name is Forward Progress here, founder of Keeping Friendship Magic Project. And here sitting in with me today.
Hello, I'm Nova Rose. I'm here.
Thank you. I have my special Sun Pony here, or my special Sun Kieran, I should say, here to chime in as so. This is a pretty personal panel for me. I've had to do a lot of introspection, and I think a lot of us here in 2020 have had to do a lot of introspection. And so we're gonna dive right into it because a big part of this panel is talking about self-esteem and self-esteem issues here. And I had something earlier this year that kind of really knocked me down for a couple of days here. So one thing, and I don't talk about this much, and you get to know, Rose, but I'm just gonna, I've kind of come to this realization over the years that there's no need in hiding all these things I used to be embarrassed about, because talking about them helps. And so when I was a kid, I really wanted to be in music for my future, for my career. I never really dreamed as a kid I'd become like a social science guy or anything. It was all music. Because I was a dreamer as a kid, can you believe it? And my whole thing is like, I want to change the world and make it better. I know, crazy, right? But that was kind of my thought, is I was like, get some notoriety through music and write songs that'll change the world. And when I was in 4th grade, I tried to learn an instrument, and I failed miserably. And my singing voice is not the greatest, so it's something I've kind of buried, actually, over the course of my life. But I still love music, and I still wish I could, and I want to learn more, and I want to get into it, but I'm always so nervous about it. So it's this thing about, like, do I have any talent? Because I kind of almost don't believe I do most of the time. And earlier this year, and I don't remember when, it's hard to tell, I'm working from home during the pandemic, and one of the great things is at times when I don't have to be on the phones for work, I can put my headphones on and jam out, or even just put it on the regular computer speakers and play some music and sing along as I do my work from home. And Do you remember what you said that day?
Which day?
When I freaked out about...
Oh, about the singing?
Yes.
I think it was like, didn't I word it about something like, oh, like you can go try maybe to do this to make you sound better or something like that?
It was, the way it was, you were trying to give me a compliment, and it triggered me in a sense. Because it was very much like I could hear you singing in there, and, you know, and it was like this. And it was very much like, it was never your intention to hurt me. But the way it came off hurt me very much, because it very much came off in a way, to me, of I was annoying you with my terrible singing voice. And I legitimately cried that day. And the next day, it was so weird because, like, I was like, okay, whatever, it's fine, you're just too sensitive. And the next day, I went to put music on and sing along out of habit, you know, this is what I do, and I was too nervous and upset, and I got, my anxiety flared up, and I got so tense because I'm like, I can't even, like, I got hypersensitive about listening to the sound of my own voice, and I'm like, God, I really am terrible, and I don't like it, and, you know, maybe I'm just an untalented fool, and I can't even enjoy this. And that actually kind of dogged me for a day or two, and my self-esteem was very low. And it's a tough thing, self-esteem to deal with, but it's so important. I've said this in various things before, but I once had a professor tell me, and it feels so true, that about 90% of all human behavior and interaction can be boiled down at its core to as you trying to protect your own self-esteem. Even when you're putting yourself down, it's kind of a defense mechanism of that sense of like, I'm not going to let, I'm going to just put myself there as my stasis is in this down thing so people can't bring me down further. And I, at that point, had not decided what the new Keeping Friendship Magic for this year was going to be. I had one originally planned for this year, but stay tuned, because I actually have an 18+ Keeping Friendship Magic that's going to happen when real conventions happen in person. But it's not, I don't feel it was appropriate for an online con scene. So I said, you know, I'm gonna figure something else out. But I hadn't at that point. This was, you know, a few months back, and I had an epiphany while I was going through this, and was very sad and very just beating myself up over something ridiculous. And it made me realize there was a pony episode all about this very topic.
Can I favor you all with a tune? I take requests!
Actually, we do have a request, and yeah, it involves your Gavitophone.
You mean the thing I love more than anything else in Equestria? My sun, my moon, my stars, my everything? Well, it's just, you need to know the... Twilight?
Pinkie, we all support you, but we're afraid you're just not good at the Ovidophone, and none of us want you to waste your time on something you can't do well.
Oh. Why didn't you just say so? We were all really nervous to tell you. Why? It's just a silly instrument. Well, lunch break's over. Gotta get back to the bakery. Those apple turnovers aren't gonna apple themselves. No more you better go play for me! No Mario Vitaphone playing for me. And a 1 and a 2, and I don't know what to do.
I think I had slept on Yakety Sax as an episode until earlier this year when this happened, and God, it resonates with me now. Pinkie Pie and that, because Pinkie Pie found this thing, this instrument that she loved, and it was something that was at her core at that point, and kind of the way that I know somewhere in me music's at a core of who I am. It's just I can't I'm not talented, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. But I felt like I couldn't do it because it was very much like what the main six were trying to tell her, and I feel bad putting you on the spot about this, honey. And it's why part of the reason why I said stay here for this panel, because I know you never intended to ever hurt my feelings.
Of course not.
And it's a very difficult thing about dealing with friendships is this interaction and getting over your social anxiety about things, because I get really nervous about, how others perceive me, and I try not to, but it's hard.
It is hard.
I genuinely have always thought of myself as a good, likable person. So when somebody doesn't like me, or I've done something to upset somebody, God, it hurts me to my core. And it's very much like Pinkie Pie was in this episode, where I was like, ugh, I can't do this. I'm bad at this. If I keep doing it, all I'm going to do is annoy her. And
which isn't true.
Now, that being said, like social anxiety it's such a hard thing, because we all have some level of anxiety, some of us more than others. I actually have generalized anxiety disorder, so it at times hits me more than it would others. And I think the thing that has gotten me through is doing a lot of these. Like, Keeping Friendship Magic at its core is really about helping, take what we see in the world and make sense of it so we can all grow together. But it kind of has also been my own personal therapy sessions, I think, over the years of me dealing with personal things, but realizing that I'm not the only one dealing with it. So I didn't hold in how I felt. I told you how I felt and how upset I was, and we talked about it. And one thing that helped was actually watching this episode and seeing kind of, some things from the end of it and coming to some realizations that we'll talk about here in a moment, but just talking about how this episode ended.
I kinda wasn't expecting this.
Me neither.
Oh, pony play good set.
You think so? Even though it wasn't perfect?
Your vidophone is instrument of happiness. Playing your vidophone make pony happy. Pony playing is perfect.
It's hard to believe in yourself at times, especially when you keep getting knocked down. But it's important to never lose part of that. And that's one of the big things I kind of took away from this episode is I can keep doing things. I can work on things. Yeah, and I'm in this space, literally. This is where my workspace. So I'm just in here, and it's just the two of us. And my partner loves me and isn't really annoyed. And in fact, later that week, do you remember what you did say to me? Probably not. I'm putting you way on the spot.
To be fair, I do not remember. It's been a while.
There's a musical called Hadestown that we love, and when I sing along with the Hades part, I'll kind of try to do the really, really deep, gravelly voice that Hades does, and I'll keep doing this for a moment. And Nova Rose here just said to me, maybe, have you ever thought maybe you're lower tone and you're trying to go for everything, but maybe it's just you need to find your tone, and because you're actually good when you sound good in this other way, and not everybody sounds great in every way. And it's like, I really appreciated that, first of all.
I feel like it's kind of the same thing with artists too, where it's like you might be like hitting your head against a wall trying to do a particular style, when it's like that might not just be your style. Like me, like I'm really good at doing like 3D, like more like realistic things, but like I'm really bad at drawing like 2-dimensional cartoons and stuff. But then like I know people that are the opposite.
So, the thing about this was that playing the thing that makes a great Uvitophone playing is that it makes you happy and you're putting your soul into it. And I kind of was like, you know what? If I'm putting my soul into something and I'm enjoying it, and I have other ways to look at it now, I can live with that. I can be okay. Fun fact: I've used my terrible singing voice several times this year at cons. I've ended up having to sing on camera at these conventions for Mad Libs, and that I did to myself. And I think that helped too, is comedy. Knowing it's for comedy, it's like, I'm not as worried about am I hitting notes or how do I sound. I'm entertaining people and making them laugh, and that makes me feel good inside. And if I'm feeling good inside, then I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing. There's one other thing I want to mention from this episode here, before I switch off to our next topic of conversation. And I'll just play a clip here that'll just kind of encompass it. I mean, that's something I never thought of before. But I just wanted to talk about having courtesy, because the other thing about this episode is Pinkie was being very inconsiderate about the how and the where that she was doing this, and it was annoying people. And it's kind of that thing of like, I don't go stand in the middle of the mall and try to serenade everybody with my voice either. I'd be way too nervous to do it, first of all. But there's a time and place for things, and having courtesy and respect for each other is something I think we all need to just always keep in mind and get down with. But it's like when I'm alone in my room, and in this room here, it's my time. Who gives a crap?
Kind of like me screaming at video games.
She does love. I don't want to say you love screaming at video games. You just do it a whole lot. Yeah. And I'm like, are you okay? And she'll be like, yes!
Exact impersonation is good.
Yeah. But just remember to be courteous for each other. But when you're in your own space, you're you. Be all the you can be. Celebrate you and love you. Sometimes it feels like nobody else is going to love us, and it's that much more important to love us. Especially here, it's 2020, we're in quarantine, we're boxed up. We got to give ourselves some space and some love. It's so crucial. It's so crucial. And I've said this before in panels, and I'm paraphrasing an anime here, but you guys are bronies who have come to watch my panel at TrotCon. You're pretty freaking awesome already. And if you don't believe in you, I believe in you, because you are that much of a person to do those things, to be here, to be part of this community, to want to witness a panel like this. So believe in yourself. If you can't, at least believe in the me that does believe in you, because you are something. So that being said, we're going to move on to our next topic and talk about a gentle giant pony, I guess we'll say here, and that's this one right here. You know, I was thinking about this Trouble Shoes the other day, because we were driving and you saw a Clydesdale out. So we drove past a Clydesdale, and I missed it. It was so sad.
Sorry.
It's okay. Was there an upside down horseshoe?
Thankfully, no.
Would we have risked wreck? Is that what you're saying? But I talked about... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to say not as bad as the gem box, though.
So, I talked about self-esteem here, and in this kind of short-term but obviously part of this stemmed from a lifetime of doubt. And I mean, Troubleshoes in this episode really just encapsulates what it's like to have that.
When I was a colt, I wanted to be a rodeo star, something fierce, but I just didn't seem to have a knack for it. I practiced and practiced, and finally, I wrangled up the guts to audition for rodeo school. Right in the middle of that tryout, I knew I was doing what I was meant to, and wouldn't you know it, in a flash comes this here cutie mark. I can still remember them judges a-laughing. I didn't even finish my routine, because right then I knew bad luck was my fate.
Past experiences obviously paint our picture of the world around us today and our self-image, especially our self-image. I've carried around for a long time, like I've suffered from clinical depression and generalized anxiety disorder basically my entire life, as long as I can remember. And, you know, I grew up, you know, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, and everybody at home could play the How Old is Ford Progress game now. But we didn't talk about that stuff as much when I was a kid. You just didn't talk about it. It wasn't as prevalent, and we didn't realize as much. We're starting to get some places, but even in what we were, it was not fully understood that much about mental health. And I needed help, and I wasn't getting it, and I suffered a long time. Anytime anything remotely bad happened, I just shut down. I remember as a child spending most of a summer kind of hiding under the covers, looking at my bed and looking out at the world every once in a while and wondering what it could be if I was normal, what it would be like to be interacting with that world. And just how much, like, it was surreal to me to know that other people didn't want to kill themselves on a daily basis. And that's the low point I was at as a child for years. And luckily, I'm not that way. I'm not there anymore. It's taken years, you know, it's taken getting the help I needed. And it's important to have that. Remember that you should never be ashamed to ask for help. But a lot of it was from past experiences that would just stick with me for no reason, you know. I'd be a teenager in, like, 12th grade and hanging on when I peed my pants in middle school. And it would shoot at me and give me such anxiety and depression about just anything. Or the time when I didn't know what I was going to do a presentation about. I want to say it was 8th grade. We had to do... we had to give a speech to the class about something, and our teacher thought he was being helpful by saying you can do it on one of your hobbies. As a kid, I hid from the world. The only things I really did was I listened to music and I watched shows and cartoons and tried to drown out into it. I'm like, that's not really a hobby to talk about as an 8th grader to a class. So my speech was terrible. And I don't know what I ever got as a grade because I was too nervous. I had too much anxiety to even look at it. And it's crazy. It's just weird, random stuff that I don't talk about. I didn't talk about much. And I talk about it now because it's like, the biggest thing I realized in my life is talking about my past experiences does so much for me. It makes me realize, you know, I don't have to beat myself up over this. I've developed this habit over the years of when I talk about things, like when I feel embarrassed about something in a moment, try putting a different spin on it. And you've experienced this, where I'll be like, instead of being like, oh my God, my life is over, I can't believe this happened, I'll look at you and be like, you will not believe what I did. And just own it. Own it. Like, you are human, you are fallible. Life is a comedy of errors, and when you start looking at things like that, it opens you up to possibilities, you know. And I'm not saying that that's a cure-all, but it's a thing to keep in mind, you know. When you can laugh along with the world, your possibilities open up that much more. And it takes time and it takes effort. And it's not just that, you know, I have a chemical imbalance. I have to take medication for it. There's so many things you can do for asking for help. But it's a thing I like to encourage people to keep in mind, that you are valid, you are important, and you're not alone in going through random weird stuff. You're not the only one who has to make awkward phone calls. You're not the only one who did something embarrassing. And a lot of times, chatting with your friends, that's magic. That's what makes us feel better about ourselves and gives us that boost of self-esteem. And sometimes all we need to do is take a look at what we've done with a new perspective. And that's exactly what Troubleshoes did in this episode.
I may be dressed like one, but I ain't no rodeo clown.
You got your cutie mark all wrong, Troubleshoes. You were born to entertain. You got a gift for making folks laugh, don't you?
But my cutie mark's an upside-down horseshoe, and that means bad luck.
That all depends on how you look at it. You always wanted to be a part of the rodeo, right? Well, now's your chance.
Come on now.
That's the best rodeo clown I ever seen.
You know, there's ways to do things if you open your mind to it. I'm going to go back to the music thing, because I've considered over the years getting into music production, even if I can't make, you know, sing or whatever. I have an appreciation. I've thought about it. I don't have really the tools or the equipment or anything, or the time, but it's kind of given me that different perspective of, like, you know, there's other ways of looking at things. Maybe I'm not meant to be one thing, but that doesn't mean that I'm not meant to be something similar, or I'm not meant to be involved in this. And don't give up on your dreams just because you had some setbacks. And that's important to keep in mind. We're all going to get knocked down. I met a woman, gosh, like years ago, who had climbed Mount Everest, and she wrote this book about her climbing expeditions and talking about leadership within it. And I feel like it's not just leadership for the team, it's leading yourself in a sense of
Is your friend all right?
yes. Oh, is my friend all right? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Just a heads up, I'm actually keeping a check on chat, so
Thank you, honey.
if you have any questions, just I'm on Coco stage. I don't feel like going back and forth.
So, I lost my track of thought now.
I am sorry.
It's okay. But just... Oh, okay. She talked about how when you climb a big mountain peak like that, you go up this mountain, but you don't just go straight up to the top. You have to go up so far and then come back down and rest up. You literally, in order to properly climb a mountain and get readjusted to the altitude, you have to climb up a certain distance and go back down a little bit, and then go back up and back down. That's the way mountain climbing works. And I never knew that before. And there's something to be said about the power of that. Like, in order to hit the peak, it's such a metaphor. Like, in order to hit the peak, literally, you have to stumble. You have to fall back down. So it's okay to do that. And don't let it discourage you from everything. It's easy to do. I've done it. But a fresh outlook can mean so much. So, got a couple other topics going within this theme here. And I got to talk about this pony right here. And this episode in particular that I love. And it's this idea of questioning yourself. And Rainbow Dash did that hardcore. And there was a big triggering factor for her going through this.
Hey! Look out!
Whoa, most awesome entrance by a newbie ever.
Are you okay, Rainbow Dash?
More like Rainbow Crash! Okay, Flight School, get ready for Rainbow Dash! More like Rainbow Crash! Rainbow Crash! Rainbow Crash! Rainbow Crash! Rainbow Crash!
You know, childhood is tough.
I'm into that.
And I think to a certain extent, most of us hang on to some element of trauma from our childhood. I mean, we're always going, always experiencing life, and childhood is such a crazy time. But we hang on to it. That stuff is what's happening while you're developing and molding. And as a kid, I was very sheltered, self-imposed. I have to be fair with that. I was the nerdy kid. You know, I was the nerdy smart kid who didn't understand all the cool things and was afraid to ruffle feathers. And I kind of got hurt. I got beat up and bullied a lot in school. I had a lot of fake friends in elementary school that people who would... I've seen this in times where you have a group of friends or friends where there's the scapegoat friend, where that's the friend that, like, you know, you bring them along partially just to crap all over them. And that was me as a kid. And God, I told myself I needed tissues for this one. I love you, babe.
Yeah.
You know, like, I had somebody who called me their friend that, you know, I know they were just yanking my chain. I'd be the one that they would try to play pranks on. I'd be the one that eventually, like, said person I remember was my friend for however long there, and eventually ended up being the guy who was pushing me into my locker in the hallways at school. So it definitely, that type of stuff sticks with you, and it makes you question who you are, especially as a kid. And when I entered elementary school, or not elementary school, middle school, I was like trying to find out who I really am and a new identity for myself, because I'm like, everybody hates me. Like, I don't know who I am, and I don't want to be somebody everybody hates. So what do I do to find out who I am? And, well, feel like Rainbow Dash can speak to what it's like to try to be somebody else, huh?
Good morning, everybody! Who's ready for a fantastic day of flying? I know I am! I just couldn't be more excited for the big show tomorrow. Are you guys excited? I'm excited! Actually, I'm always excited. Some ponies even call me Dynamic Dash!
True. Go ahead and call me Forthright Billy if you want, but she up.
I'm always finding so much interesting information in books. In fact, a lot of ponies call me Reading Rainbow. I was just trying to help because I care about all of the Wonderbolts oh so much. Yes, sirree. Just call me Care Mare. Why, ever since I was a foal, I've admired the mixture of bold lines and classic contours. They don't call me Rainbow Fash for nothing.
I want to talk about the concept of losing yourself, because that's kind of what I did. I remember. I've been trying to get pictures from my mother. Maybe once COVID's over, I can try to get some embarrassing photos of myself, because I've reached a point of life of I'm going to put it all out there for you guys. I had a stereotypical 90s bowl cut and was wearing oversized sports jerseys and was trying to just listen to what other people were listening to and talk to them. And I was trying to be someone I wasn't. I was trying to be someone else. And granted, I still enjoy sports. It's not like that's the issue or anything, but I was not who I really was at my core. I was doing things and saying things and wearing things that weren't really me. I thought it was what all the cool kids did. And it sounds so cliche and stupid, but it's true. And that's the thing. Is sometimes things you're like, you can't really be that way, but sometimes they are. And you got to kind of get past that mental block that's telling you, no, this is silly, this is stupid, it can't be like, yeah, but sometimes life happens like that. So it's easy to lose yourself when people are bringing you down. And it took a while for me to find myself. And a lot of it was I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have the self-esteem to power through all of it. And I got knocked down several times. But because I got knocked down, eventually I found there's a purpose to this. And I've gone through trials. And as life goes on, being yourself is the most important thing. And I feel, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, the bravest thing anyone can do is truly be themselves.
True that.
It really is. You're going to have societal pressure. Societal stigma is a thing. It's a real thing. You can't see it. You can't touch it. But it exists. You feel it. And it's going to push on you. It's going to tempt you. It's going to make you question things. And you can change and evolve. You have to accept that you could be wrong. But also knowing that when you analyze yourself, that you're still you and you're valid and important and matter. And at the end of the day, yeah, you might have done something wrong and slipped up and been crazy and silly and, but just because of that past trauma doesn't mean that you have to go to the extreme and become someone different. And learning that lesson is huge. And that's why Newbie Dash is... Love this episode. Because Dash, in the end, takes it to heart.
But you guys all called me Rainbow Crash.
Yeah, so? My nickname's Clipper. You know why they call me that?
'Cause you're as fast as a ship?
Because I clipped my wing on a flagpole as I was landing on my first day.
Huh. Flatfoot. My first day, I misjudged my landing and came down right on Spitfire's hoof.
Daisy.
Slowpoke.
Hoof and mouth.
You don't want to know what they call me.
Whoa. That is so much worse than Crash.
Right?
So, does this mean I'm still on the team?
You think you can be part of this team and not constantly try to showboat?
I promise. I spent my whole life trying to be a standout flyer, but now that I'm a Wonderbolt, it's time to be okay with fitting in.
Good. Because I really didn't want to miss the chance to tease you for years about this catastrophe. I mean, that crash was epic! So epic! But you're on probation for a month. Got a problem with that?
No, ma'am.
That image there, like, Dash didn't have to go and be outrageous to try to shake herself from her incident, from her past name. She just had to be herself and be who the Wonderbolts knew she was the entire time. Be part of something that's great while being herself, not trying to be someone else. And it's crucial for us that we remember that, staying true is beautiful. You are beautiful. And I know it sounds cliche and silly, but, you're beautiful the way you are. And adaptation is necessary. Change is necessary. But do it in a way that feels good and right to you. Because that's the thing about your self-esteem. When you try to go the other side, and just be something you're not and you don't truly believe, you're just going to hurt yourself more. And that's what I did. And when I listened to myself more, I realized I have a place. I mean, I'm here, aren't I? I have you guys. I have this community and this fandom, and the best fiance I could have ever asked for. And there's a reason for that. And it's because there's good people left in this world, and I can be me, and you guys respect me for me, and I respect you for you. So this panel is called The Midnight in Me. Obviously, we've been talking about dealing with your kind of inner demons here, so I think you knew that eventually it had to come to this. So let's talk about fearing yourself. Going beyond just not liking yourself. If you get yourself to that point where you're afraid of who you are.
Midnight Sparkle! How is this possible? Sunset Shimmer helped me defeat you at the Friendship Games. You and your friends can never truly defeat me. Midnight Sparkle's a part of you. I'll always be there, waiting in the darkest shadows of your mind. I'll be back, Twilight! And this time, I won't stop until I have all the magic! No!
Twilight, wake up!
So I've mentioned in here earlier in this panel about kind of doing silly things and it hanging with me, and boy did it, to the point that I didn't trust myself a lot of times, and I was afraid of what I would do. I've mentioned my anxiety issues. I've had this real fear of letting people down, to the point where I'm so afraid to do it, that I'm so afraid of who I am and that I'll become this terrible person, that I've done not so great things, to be honest, when I was younger. I had a couple of friends who wanted, I was like 18, 19, 20, something along there, probably 20, 21, that wanted to get a place together, and I went and viewed the place with them, and this whole time I knew I couldn't do this, and I just was like, no, because if you just tell them no, you're gonna ruin everything. You're gonna just, like, you're gonna be this just terrible version of yourself, or you're just all you're gonna do is disappoint people. You gotta make people happy at this point. And I was just so afraid of everything. And I let my anxiety get the better of me, and I just kind of disappeared off the face of the planet. Like, my fear of myself made me a worse person, because I just ghosted. And I feel terrible about that to this day, where, like, these people wanted to do this thing and they were banking their future on doing something with me, and I couldn't bear to know what life would be like, and I was so afraid of who I was and who I could be that I couldn't even bring myself to talk to them about my fears. And I've had to learn to live with a lot of these mistakes that I've had, and it's hard because it's always there in the back of your head, you know. My life, and I've mentioned this before, like, life got me down to that point of, before I went and got help, like, I was searching for crutches. I turned to drugs, and I don't know, like 15, 20 years ago, something like that. No, it wasn't that long ago, but like 10 to 15 minimum. That was me. I couldn't figure out how to be happy and how to get over my brain gremlins and the voice in my head that told me I couldn't do things, and the voice in the head that told me that I was terrible and that I am a bad person and I don't deserve to be here. And I feared myself, much in the way that Twilight feared that Midnight Sparkle was still in there. She knows what happened, and I know what I did. I know what happened, and I have to live with that. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to be that way forever. I've mentioned before that my favorite song from the series, from all of Pony Everything, is My Past Is Not Today, and I think that's why.
I'm just going to go interject.
Yes.
Where it's your mistakes do not define you. It's how you react to your mistakes and take that as a learning lesson and improve upon the mistakes.
So, much in the same way that I had just such a fear of myself and was going to leave, I mean, let's take a look at what Twilight did in Legend of Everfree.
Twilight, you can't leave.
You don't think it was the spirit, do you?
No, it was me. I think it's Midnight Sparkle. She's still part of me. I can feel it. And I think her magic is infecting my friends.
Twilight, there's no Midnight Sparkle. There's only you.
How did you know what I was thinking?
When I touched your hand, I could see things. I could understand why you were leaving. My new magic. This is my new magic. This is incredible.
No, it's not. I'm infecting you now.
Twilight, you have to stop looking at this as a bad thing.
Easy for you to say. Magic turned you into something beautiful. The last time I tried to use it, it turned me into a monster. I'm just so afraid it's gonna happen again.
Yes, last time I turned into something amazing, but I've let magic turn me into a monster too. So if anyone understands what you're going through, it's me. I can help you, Twilight. And the rest of our friends can be there for you too, but not if you run away.
Friendship is just the biggest thing. Being able to talk to people about what's going on is huge, but even more so is you have your voices within. And there's the negative and there is the positive too. Actually, it was funny, in the car the other day, randomly came on and shuffle was a song called The Voice Within by Christina Aguilera, where I might screw up the lyrics here, but it's when there's no one else, look inside yourself. Like your oldest friend, you can trust the voice within of there is a positive voice that can live inside of you, and sometimes you have to train it, and sometimes it takes help. It's not just all about with what's in, but it's like how Sunset provided a pillar of stability to help Twilight. Sorry, my rhyming dictionary of Starlight or Twilight people is acting up. Twilight foils, I should say. I had to retrain myself, and I think obviously seeking the help, talking to people, figuring out what medication I needed to be on to balance out my levels, and also just friendship got me to just look at myself and realize there's something there, and I can retrain my voice within, and to remind myself I matter, and I can be here, and I don't have to be afraid of every part of me like I have been. And there's things to embrace about myself, just like Twilight had to do at the end of Legend of Everfree.
Come on, Twilight. You have to be stronger than she is.
You will never control me. I will always be a part of you.
Twilight, listen to me. You are in charge.
You are a light, darling. A force for good. Yeah, you can kick the darkness's butt. We're here for you, Twilight.
And we'll be here no matter what.
We believe in you.
You are not Midnight Sparkle.
No, I am Twilight Sparkle.
And the magic I carry inside me is
The magic of friendship.
Embrace the Magic was a great song from that. And there's something about that, about being able to conquer your fear through the power of friendship and the power of believing in yourself. And it's going to take time. You're going to get knocked down, just like in the series and the movies. you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna stumble, and it's not always gonna be an uphill battle. It's not always gonna be an uphill battle. It's not always gonna be it is always gonna be an uphill battle, I should say, to an extent. You can always grow and get better each day, but that doesn't mean to give up, because it does get better. But you gotta embrace the magic that's within you, and that you are valid, you are important, you matter, and there's a reason why people like us are together today, here at this online convention. We can't even be together in person, and we still found a way to get together and talk about all of this. That's pretty amazing, I would say. I think that's magic. And I think all of you are magic. And I don't know where I would be without this community, this fandom, and the support and love you've shown. You know, I started keeping Friendship Magic back in 2015, I think it was, as just a, wow, there's great things in this community and I want to share it with the world. And it's taken me here. And even just my time in the fandom has transformed me into, I think, a better person and someone who likes himself for the most part, which is crazy. But give it a moment then. So I believe we only have till 11:15. Am I correct on that? So we only have about 5 minutes left to wrap up. But I gotta say, believing in yourself, knowing that your self-esteem and your self-worth is important, and we can all be here for each other, and that it's okay to slip up. It's okay to be afraid. And that's why we have each other. And that is what I call keeping Friendship Magic. Real quick, I want to thank everyone for coming and being here and being a part of this. And anybody who's seen any of the panels I've been on this weekend, thank you so much. Your love and support mean more to me than I can express. If you like what we do have a podcast. Unfortunately, I don't have the link on there, but it's kfm.buzzsprout.com, or you can just Google Keeping Friendship Magic wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on most podcast platforms at this point. If you want to support what we do, you can become a patron, patreon.com/KFM. You can even just donate $1 a month. It helps us because it helps keep the podcast going. It helps keep us stable and afloat. And hey, if you do want to give us $3 a month or more, you get early access, a couple days early access to some of our new videos and such. So we have about 4 minutes, I guess. So do you want to see what we have for comments, questions, etc., honey?
Sure. I guess I will go with the first one here. Should I just read the whole thing?
Sure, if they're yeah.
So the question is, so my life was difficult because I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. And so far, my life was hard with 2 annoying brothers, and I like watching MLP, but they don't. I like that I shouldn't be doing this, but I like MLP in my life. I have a lot of fake friends, but one of my friends has autism and like MLP. So how could my life change in a better way?
Wow. That's so much. Obviously, there's different layers. It's going to depend on how old you are, your life situations, about what you have the capabilities to do. It's great to know that you have a friend that you can share that kind of similar wavelength. You know, I know a lot of great people on the spectrum, and they're amazing, talented people that deserve respect and appreciation, and don't get it nearly enough, I don't think. And there's obviously things I'm probably, that I'm not trained in certain areas, that I don't want to give you false, advice that may be bad. But I want to say the fact that you have someone you can connect with, you can find your outlets. The thing is, like, right now everything is tough. We're all suffering. It's all hard. We can't connect in the way we want to. So it's finding those small moments of joy, I think, really does it. Like, this con is a big boost of just self-confidence energy for me, because I know that they're connecting with people. And I think that's the big thing, is I think by finding connections with people, and talking through when you're having these bad times and people are getting to you, having somebody to talk it through it with is huge. And you said you had somebody else who's also that's a friend who you know, watches MLP. You have a connection. You have a way you can build in even more. And trust me, there's great people in this community. If you want to meet more people, especially even if you want to meet people where you have that commonality of autism and MLP, they're here in the community, and they're amazing people, and they're wonderful. They're there. Be on the lookout. And even still, the great thing about this community too, we have a lot of differences, but we still love each other. Even if we're different and don't share everything, talk to somebody, reach out here. I love making friends. Friendship is magic here. We could probably get one more in.
Have you ever reached out to the people you've ghosted?
Yes. So an interesting thing here, because one of them I actually kind of patched things up with earlier. Another one I've talked with. They're not in my life anymore, for good reason. And it's actually not necessarily what I did in it, and I'm not here to diss on people. Essentially, they did something that's not so great, and I don't really want to go into detail because it's not my life. But they ended up, you know, I did apologize at one point and was like, you know, I know I've been not the greatest person. In a weird way, they ended up being they did a very bad thing to another individual. We'll just say that. So there's a reason I don't connect with them anymore. But I can live at peace knowing that I did at least try to make that attempt to apologize. And sometimes people aren't going to accept it, and that's okay. It's 11:15, so I guess we've got to bounce. That's so sad. I'll be here for closing ceremonies along with Miss Nova Rose. I think it's around 5 o'clock Eastern. Either 4 or 5 o'clock Eastern. We'll figure it out between now and then.
But I could be wrong.
Thank you, TrotCon. Thank you, audience. Thank you, all the amazing people I've gotten to work with this weekend. You're all what does this and makes this just such a special community and such a special event for me. So, so thank you guys. I love you all. And remember to keep friendship magic in the world and with each other. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.